They are very fast and nearly flawless at computations. They don't make mistakes. Okay. If the mistake is there in an analysis, it is mistake of the programmer, not of the machine. Okay. So the random number generation, humans tend to spread out number sequence, but machines less likely to spread out. The common sense is, this is the forte of the human being. Sorry. Humans have access to collective folk wisdom. They can collectively think, but the machines don't have that ability. And rationality is human rely on biases, heuristics, and they wait for an expectation of rational choice for you, but they don't. Once you fix the machine thinking, they follow set rules. But human being doesn't do that. Okay. So the ability of this digital computer or computer control over to perform tasks is associated with intelligent beings. Okay. So now let us see it in a more categorical way. What is development? So when you are looking at this, these are the definitions which you will get in literature. So the exciting thing about the computer thing, machine with mind in the full and greater sense. This is by Hogland in 1985 paper. And Selden in 1978 automation activities that we associate with human reasoning activities such as decision making, problem solving, learning. So these are the attributes which goes with thinking human beings or machines. And then it is thinking rationally, the study of mental faculties through use of computation models, and the study of computations that make it possible to perceive, reason, and act. These are by McDermott and Chapman and Gibson. So once you are thinking like that, you have to actually mainly the art of creating machines that perform functions that require intelligence when performed by people. And the study of how to make computers do things at which at the moment people are better. Okay. And rationally means computer intelligence is the study of the design of intelligent beings. Artificial intelligence is concerned with intelligent behavior in Africa. So these are the things which you will get in detail from the experts of machine learning here. So to start with, how many of you who are studying the computer science are doing PhDs in machine learning. So this is the first thing which is known as the Turing test. In Turing test, there are two players, A and B. They act as the respondents. Okay. This one is a machine and one is a human being. And the player C is an interrogator. So they do not know whatever the information is coming here. This interrogator doesn't know that it is coming from A or from a computer or a human. So this is a test to determine whether or not a computer is capable of thinking like human being. This was the first test. So Alan Turing was the person who proposed that a computer can be said to possess artificial intelligence if it can mimic human responses under specific conditions. So the original Turing test requires three terminals, these three, each of which is physically separated from other two. One terminal is operated by a computer, while the other two are by humans. So during the test, one of the human functions as the interrogator, this one, while the second human and the computer function is the respondent. The questioner interrogates the respondents with a specific subject area using a specified format and context. After a present length of time, as number of questions, the questioner is then asked to decide which respondent was human and which was a computer. So the test is repeated many times. If the interrogator makes the correct determination in half or less of the questions, the computer is considered to have artificial intelligence. because the interrogator regard is just as human as a human. So he is not he or she is not able to distinguish between a human responder and a computer responder. So this is gives a test that the computer in a given situation and it is trained in a given way, it can act like it can show intelligence. In the initial period when we were using computers in 80s and 90s, we never thought that computers think they were considered to be slave. Whatever you do, whatever you say to them through an algorithm, they will just perform. And they don't make mistakes because their memory level is high and the processing is high. Okay, so let us start with deep learning, which, as we said, is a subset of. So in this case, deep learning, as we said, that it is a subset of machine learning and a subset of artificial intelligence as well. So that indicates the way human beings acquire certain types of knowledge. So it is just a very big neural network on a lot more data requiring the network. So many of you must be aware of neural network, artificial neural network. So in this case, what happens is that you have a different input layers set of data, say from x1 to x3, and you have certain desired outputs y1 to y2. Okay. So obtain the desired inputs and you design number of hidden layers. Okay. So every hidden layer is assigned a weight. So once all these data are combined together and they give you trained data, there are other data sets we'll go in detail. So you have to test the data. If the error is reduced and it is very much the desired output, then you freeze the hidden layers and then you consider that your neural network is trained. Actually, this is the way our brain works. So this is based on that particular. So we have a neural network in our brain. So this is a program or computer design of artificial neural network. So it's called. So deep learning, what we do is that initially when you have some object, there were a feature extractor. They just had a feature that here there is a curvature, here it is a other feature, and so on. So these feature extractors, they were trainable classifiers. But then modern pattern recognition, they are mid-level features. So you consider all the curvatures, and in deep learning there are low-level, mid-level, high-level, and then there are trainable classifiers. So this is known as deep learning. Then you are aware of each and every features of the object. Okay. So again, we have seen a Russian doll, they are known as Russian dolls, but in India we also have, or when inside one doll, when you open the bigger doll, like this one, you will find a smaller doll. When you open this one, you will find still inside it a smaller doll. So when they all combine, they become a big doll. So here, in this context, this is artificial intelligence there, so machine learning is there, and so neural network becomes a part of it, and deep learning is part of it. So they all four combine to give you artificial intelligence. Okay. So now let us come to the steps. This is which we will be concentrating upon after this introduction. How to apply in any situation. This is not related to any situation. It can be applied in agriculture, any healthcare problem, including mental health, and nowadays bioinformatics, information science, anything. So you can find that machine learning is applied in every way, but the steps of applying them are same. So the first step is data collection. So you get the data in whatever area you want to. Then you have to prepare it to make it a data which is proper. You have to prepare the data. Then you have to select the learning algorithms, okay, the training model. Then you have to evaluate the model. Based on this evaluation and training, you have to tune the model and ultimately you will predict. So, so these are the steps it has to go, then this will come up. So individually each one is an exercise in itself. Each one is an exercise in itself, but then all of them combined, they combine to give you a machine learning concept. Okay. So first let us see the data collection. So collecting data for training and machine learning model is a basic step. So the predictions made by any system can only be as good as the data on which they have been trained. The following are some of the problems that can arise in data collection. So data, this is a internet world and we are connected, so there are a lot of data available in every area. So how much they are relevant, that you have to decide. So many of the data are inaccurate. So the collected data could be unrelated to the problem statement. For example, you want a mental health awareness on some things like anxiety. But when you will search on the Google or on any data site, you will find many data which are related to stress, other things. So you have to prune the data so that it relates to what the problem statement you want to tackle. Then there will be missing data. There are many data which are, some of the data are missing, that could take the form of empty values in columns or missing images for some class of prediction. So then you are arranging the data in rows and columns or in any format you want, so there will be data which will be missing. And when you program it on that, it will create error. So you have to take care of that. Next is data imbalance. Some classes of categories in the data may have a disproportionate high or low number of corresponding samples. So some data which is irrelevant, there are a large number of samples, which you require, there are very less number of data samples. So as a result, this being underrepresented in the model is there. So even if you have a large number of data, you don't have a proper distribution of data, or there is an imbalance in data, you may land in the trouble. So there are bias also, depending on how the data structures and labels or densities are chosen. The model could correlate inherent bias like gender, politics, age, religion. So data bias is difficult to detect and remove. So in any examples, you will find that there are cases when you are collecting the data, you may prefer, or your program may prefer, depending upon some bias. Okay. So let us take an example of cancerous tissue. You can take an example, any example here. So this is a benign tumor, and this is a malignant tumor. Okay. So in this case, when you collect so many data, what you have to do is that you have to build some attributes, like sample code number. So these are all sample code numbers. You are collecting from a large number of, you have data, so you have to sample it. So you assign a sample code number. Then you have to apply some attributes like clump thickness. You give number 1 to 10, for example 5, 3, 6 here. In the first column you give. Uniformity of cell shape, you also assign it in marginal adhesion, epithelial cells. So these are all the 10 attributes which are given to the data. Accordingly, you provide these data. The last section is the class. Here you assign that based on this, if from the data you have collected, you give 2 for the benign cases and 4 for the malignant cases. So this is the way you collect data and you make the data assign attributes. Okay, so here there were 699 data. I will produce some, and there are 10 attributes which are assigned to them in number. So they all correspond to this. And then ultimately, this is your decision, because you have to take the decision if it is a malign or a benign. So once you get a data, so the first question comes is what to do with the data. So many data, you are surrounded by so many data, then you are really perplexed at what can I analyze these data? There are millions of data at your hand. So there are what process you have to do. So you have to do something, because you have landed yourself by collection of data. You are surrounded by so many data that you don't know how to go about it. Then the first thing is you collect all the data like this. Then you do some cleaning after, with data cleaning. You will see how you clean the data. Then you do the data selection and transformation. Depending upon the relevant, task relevant data, you make it here, data selection, transformation, and then you do the data mining, and from that data mining, you make a pattern. When you have a pattern evaluation, you get to the knowledge of it. So from mess to a pattern, that is the way your algorithm works. Okay. So the first thing is cleaning the data here. Because first of all you have to do is to clean the data. So first of all is you are importing the data. And then you merge data sets. You take one data set, rebuild missing data, centralize the data, normalize the data, deduplicate. There will be many data which are duplicate. You have to deduplicate them, verify them and enrich them, export the data. And so this cycle goes on till you are making a relevant set of data. Then data integration is there. So why data integration is required? So data integration is required because you are collecting data not from one source, isn't it? The data, there are many sources to collect data. So for example, you have some external sources, some data services are there, some enterprise applications there, unstructured files are there, and there are cloud applications also. There are many data on the cloud. So because you are getting from different sources, so this data may be distributed in a different way. So you have to integrate them so that you can use it. Okay. So here the data integration is done, and then once the data integration from all the sources are done, this is your warehouse. This becomes a data warehouse which is relevant for your further work. So these are important. So here what we are doing is data transformation. So data transformation is a process of converting data from one format to another, which we saw just now. So to move data, new data is stored. So for example, you have landed with so many of data, and you is controlled to some extent. So what we have to do is the data transformation is a process, as I will just define, of converting data from one format to another and they are required to move data to new data store, such as cloud, to join unstructured data with structured data, to perform aggregation such as comparing some cancer data or mental health data from different regions. And how it is done? It is done by scripting. The scripting can be done by using SQL or Python nowadays, by writing a code to extract and transform data. And you use ETL, which is extraction transform load, that you use. So that can be on premise. That can you can have your own in your labs or your center, or you can use on the cloud. Okay. So once you do that, these are the data mining techniques which you apply. So there are anomaly detection, association learning, clustering, classification, regression analysis, choice modeling, rule injection. So these are the things which you will learn, I think, in Professor Tanya will expose on these statistical methods. So you will be more well versed to explain it to you. So the first, next thing is what we do is clustering. So you have a data set like that. You can see that different colors are there in different clusters. So you can have it. So clustering or cluster analysis is a machine learning technique. Okay. So which in groups the unlabeled data set. So you don't have the data set which you have obtained, they are not labeled. So the first thing you have to do is to do the clustering and make the data set, label the data sets. It can be defined as a way of grouping the data points into different clusters consisting of similar data points, which is given in different colors. The objects with possible similarity remain in a group that has less or no similarities with another group. So clustering divided into following ML technique. One is the partition technique, density-based groups, distribution-based, and fuzzy clustering. So these are the four methods which you can do it. So what ultimately the aim is of clustering is that you have different sets which are unrelated to different sets. Or if it is a fuzzy type of thing, there may be some relation between the two, but they are not very hard. They are soft clustering method. So where the data set can overlap in some cases you can see. So in this case, this is what the example which we are taking is a process data. It is already well processed. It is already noise-free, no missing values. All attributes are numerical values, already normalized, and so no need to require pre-processing in this case. Yes. So the data set for the machine learning, how you divide it after doing it. So once you create the data set, so the whole data set has to be divided into training set and the test set. So the training set again has to be divided into two. One is the training set, which consists of more than around 60% of the data, and validation set, which validates what after the training you have to every time validate it that the training is going correctly or not. So then the training set is submitted to learning models, and validation set selects the model. This is the learning process. So once the learning process is over, this learning model is there, and the test sets you evaluate the learning model by the test set you have. And so during the whole combination gives you a model. Sure. Sure, sir. Okay, so next we have completed this part. Now let us go to the other steps. So selection of selecting learning algorithm is this. After this, we will come to the learning algorithm. So selection of machine learning algorithm is important. So based on your approach and the problem which you are facing, you can define. It can be autocratic, so it can be a supervised learning, unsupervised, and reinforced. Okay. So in supervised, we have regression analysis, which is decision tree, random forest classification. Here, normally with clustering methods, we have tables, ECA, and these two. Reinforce can be continuous or categorical. So let us come to supervised learning first. In supervised learning, the difference is that you have a supervisor. So you have a training data. So your data set is in your training data and desired output. You know the desired output. And there is a supervisor who sees that this training data and desired output. He is also in the loop. Okay. So for example, these are the input raw data which you are getting. You devise the algorithm, you do a processing. These are the model training. And then when your model is trained, you give an input and the output to decide. For example, in this case, there were a large number of suppose fruits and other things. So when the input is there, he can recognize the output that it is a tomato, what was designed. So this is known as supervised learning. In the supervised learning, the regression plays a very important role. This is a statistical technique as well. You have a data. So from the data you input X, which are features derived from the data. Okay. And then the regression analysis develops a relation X and Y. And then this intelligence predicts Y. So this is a continuous output or a response to input. It depends. So this is the flow of from data to intelligence. So these regression models can have a single feature or more than two features, but that is multiple features. So if it is a single feature, it is a simple. You have a linear regression and non-linear. Here also linear and non-linear. So here, suppose if it is a if the data points are here and the line of regression, so depending where you is, you just fit a straight line here. You fit a straight line here and you get a line of regression. But suppose there are multiple data sets, then you fill up with a straight line, but
ऑडियो म्यूट करके रिकॉर्डिंग नहीं कर रही। ये तो चल रहा है इस लैपटॉप में कर लिए।
So this is a people percentage of this is a data which I got from the net. So heart disease, how heart disease is related, who are people who are going to work using bicycle. And this is the
स्क्रीन शेयर कर दीजिए ना, हम आगे बढ़ाते रहेंगे। स्क्रीन शेयर कीजिए।
It says that even
PPT खुला हुआ है, हम आगे बस बढ़ाते हैं।
smoking population and if they are biking, they can have heart diseases rate accordingly, blue lines, green lines, and red lines. Okay. So this is a general method. Many of you might be known also. And if it is a non-linear case, suppose it is a non-linear case, you can't fit a linear curve here. So linear regression is if your data non-linear, you just have a straight line and it can go below 0 as well as above 1. But here if it is a logistic regression, it will be between 0 to 1. Okay. the predicted value of y will be in this range. Whereas in this case it can be anywhere more than 0 as well as, sorry, less than 0 as well as more than 1. So supervised learning, you can go for a decision tree, and there decision tree you have a leaf node. So leaf node, there is a decision node and a leaf node. The leaf node, there you take what exactly it is happening. We will show you in the next example. So this is the root node. So here you have you make a tree with 2 decisions you are taking, and then every leaf node is there, and depending upon that, you make a decision. So for example, healthy or not after the age of 40. This is one example. So here you divide healthy or not, yes and no. So here these are the leaves. Here again you make a decision. So you are eating fast food or regular exercise is being done. So then again, if it is yes and no, it is true. Because fast food, otherwise if it is doing exercise, it's strict and no. So these are examples, but when you do analysis, you will come with much more tougher situation. So, but this is just making up a decision too. And then in this random forest again, so what we do is that we have a training set and we assess it. So we make a decision tree like that, and then the prediction. So for example, every tree is giving some. You are selecting data set from suppose there are k number of sets and you take n out of them. So you build a tree according to that, and then the P1, P2, majority voting. So they after the final classes are coming, they do the majority voting, and then that gives you the final class. So this is the random forest method. Unsupervised learning is much easier and much robust. So you have input raw data like cats and dogs here. So you do the interpretation, you do algorithm, you do the processing. Now the dogs are together and cats are together. So this is unsupervised. There is no supervising of there. You have a raw data and you just use algorithm to separate them. Take a decision if it is a dog or if it is a cat. So for doing unsupervised learning, the basic things are the principal component analysis, which is known as PCA, and K-means clustering. We have two methods of doing it. So in PCA, what you see that there are large numbers of data which you do, and you just using that principal component analysis to separate them into different pairs. So you take a decision like this. They are all overlapping here. And K-means clustering, you just have the data and you just recognize the cluster it according to the color, and you get blue and red. That's it. This may look easy, but when you do the programming, it really takes a lot of. Here you can see that there are a lot of iterations which takes place in doing this clustering. And ultimately, you get the data. So random data is make it cluster out of it. So reinforced learning is not easy to do. For example, if you have a say a robot and it has to travel a certain path, and you have a trainer and this person is a human expert and he is a perception and this is a robotic. So he always give a query to this and this human expert gives a response to it. So he actually reinforces, it could learn that in many of the competition you must have seen the robotic competition that they have to follow they have to do a certain job. So they have to move into a certain path, or they have to throw out of a circle, and so on. So they are examples of reinforced learning. And then the training models, as you can see that, as we discussed in the first phase, these are the healthy subjects, and this is your neural network, and then you make a phenotype. Then you make some data in the target objects, and then you lead to the processing unit that gives you another thing. And then ultimately you have a new subject, and you classify that this person will be either in this blue one or the red. So if you consider blue to be healthy, red to be unhealthy, so this new subject, by using the same which we have trained here, it will give you a decision that it is either healthy or unhealthy. Okay. So this SSE is stack sparse auto encoder, and this is deep transfer learning. These are also the processes of advances which have been done in AI. So then there is a evaluating model, evaluating the model. So in the step you have seen that we are going to go through the evaluating the model. So assessment one, the choice of evaluation method is very critical. The results obtained by different methods may be different. And assessment, the assessment two, the relation between different evaluation results vary with the purpose of the data, the learning goal and the learning system. Therefore, it is not possible to determine this relation a priori. Consequently, the only way to assess the quality of machine learning model is through their careful evaluation and appropriate methods. The key is to identify which methods are appropriate for given model context. So, evaluating models are these. They are resubstitution, they are hold out, take hold, leave one out, and data stack. In this case, you can see these testing models, they can depend upon the error analysis you can decide. And then comes the prediction step, the next step. It is the core. This is the core of the machine learning. And predictive analysis offers a variety of statistical techniques and uses statistics to estimate or predict future outcomes. So these outcomes might be behavior or market or health, anything. So machine learning on the other hand is a subfield of computer science, as we said, and the computers are able to learn without being explicitly programmed. So the best part about machine learning is that you do not write programs for it. Okay. This machine learning learns from, it works on the data itself. Normally, in what we used to do before this data science came, we always used to write algorithms solving differential equation or something analytical method. But this data science, don't write algorithms like that. They work on the data science and the algorithm is developed accordingly. Okay. So in this case, we have 4 definitions like this: accuracy, recall, sensitivity, specificity, and precision. So these are the predicted data, and these are the actual. So, positive, true positive, it can be a false negative also. False positive becomes a negative data, and true negatives are also. So the accuracy depends upon these formulas. So Pt plus Tn and all combination. Recall, these are the formulas based on these analysis. Okay. So machine learning, there are many methods of, as we discussed. So having this artificial neural network, so there are many decisions. So you have a decision tree and NLP, Gaussian method, and so on. So you see that in this case, if you have Gaussian process, the predictability is accurate, and the accuracy is high, and as well as this F1, that is the predictability. So The evaluation we have to do is depending on the same graph is repeated here. So Gaussian process, Gaussian, and neural network model. So these you can see that it has a accuracy and the testing data. So this gives you a better result. And then machine learning is one of the tools which is open source. I wanted to show you this is the R Studio, which is known as the R method of doing machine learning. So they have their own boxes. The first box you have, you can do the programming. So you have the data, it gives you a solution, and then there is a plot. Okay. So the features of this R programming is that it is open source, it is a complete language itself, it gives you analytical support, it supports extension, it facilitates interaction with databases, community support, and simple, easy, and easy. So in summary, to summarize the whole lecture, what we have to do is that you have to access data provider. When you select the data, you have raw data there. And then you will use the data processing tool, applying that, make a pre-processing till iterate it till the data is prepared and you get a structured data. Then applications are here. So here is structured data, then you go to the machine learning algorithm is the candidate output which you want, and it is having this loop. Once you are satisfied with that, you deploy a selected model, and then this is the going on, and then you go for that. So this is how the different steps are executed in machine learning, whatever be the area you choose for. So this I come to the first part of the lecture.
Thank you so much, sir. What a wonderful session. We started from initial to that of we are now expertise in machine learning. I think all of you gained a lot from this session. Anyone having any questions or query to be raised can raise now.
The answers will be given by experts like Kriti and Sharon.
Any queries from the audience, online or?
Yeah.
Hello, good morning, sir. Basically, I am working on antenna design. I want to implement machine learning technique in antenna design. If you give me some.
So the first thing is what are the desired outputs you want. So the first thing is, for example, as I said that you have to train the machine learning means that if you have trained large number of antennas, you have designed large number of antennas depending upon the initial condition, then when you design a new antenna, you must be able, when you put into that software or the algorithm, it will predict how it will work. So this is the part of the machine learning. So machine learning will not design an antenna, but when you have large number of data related to antenna, and you know that if these are the set of antenna, you have trained it, then the antenna performance will be this set of features will be there. So when you get a new set of data on your antenna, you either by measurement or by design or by getting from paper, then when you put it there, you will know that how this antenna will output. Yes. So what there are a large number of data which are available on antenna. So, and you know that if these are the set of antenna, these will be the S parameters, these will be the throughput loss, this will be the spread, this will be the far field pattern. So all these things you already know. What you have to do is that now you get a new data set. For example, for a 5G, you come across a new data set which you do not know how it will function. So you apply in the algorithm, in the trained data algorithm, you will get the output. It will be very near to you. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Any more questions?
So,
Sir, actually my question is now, as you have shown the hidden function of the brain, layer L2, L3, L4.
yeah.
My question is now the output that will depends upon the input. Because suppose negative attitude, negative thinking is now our input. What will be the, after the hidden function of the layer L2, L3, L4, output will be positive or not?
Actually, this depends upon how you train your data. For example, in this case, if you are considering the thinking and and basically you are considering addressing the mental health problem. So in this case, you will have an input set of data that these are there can be a physical conditions, there can be circumstantial conditions, there can be a situation data which is related. So all those things you have to put into that, and you have trained the data. So these are all brings a negative thing. So there are many parameters which gives you a negative thing, depending upon the situation, your age, the experience you had in your childhood, or the experience you have had in your workplace. So these are the data sets. So you train according to them, and you get it is given output that which category of negativity it is. It is just a mild category or it is a serious category. So that will be the output. So now when you get a new set of data, you put it in the input. The output will be in which category of negativity. So if it is a zero or negative negativity, it becomes positive. So you are a positive person. So when you like in artificial, forget about mental health. It can be any engineering problem, and we were doing the artificial neural network. So what the hidden layers were doing, they were actually they were giving weight to all the data, isn't it? So they were going to the second hidden layer, third hidden layer, depending upon if it is a single hidden layer also. And then it used to back propagate. So back propagation was one of the techniques which I used. I don't know, there are many other techniques. So when it back propagated, then from that analysis you used to get that. So by forward and backward propagating, it used to learn. So learning means that weightage was changing. Weightage on every data was changing. So ultimately the output changed. For example, I will give you in the data which we applied artificial learning, even machine learning, in mining industry. So we had a data from one of my associates. So he had a data of suppose 100 mines. 100 mines he had a data. And in 100 mines he had data in which some of them were actually prone to, there was fire there already inside the coal mines. And some of the data there were no coal. So all kind of data was there. So what we did is we trained the program. So 60% of the data we trained it, 40% we used to test it. So now when we get it from any new data, for example, what is the carbon monoxide content, what is the carbon dioxide content, what is nitrogen content, what is methane percentage, and so on. There are many inputs, x1 to xn. So based on that data, we predicted that will this particular mine is prone to fire or not. We expected to get it 0 or 1, but we didn't get it. We get it right from 0.8, 0.9, and 4.2, 4.8. It was like a TTL logic. So we considered 0. Up to 0, 1 up to 0, and from 4.5 to 5 as 1. So we used to get a data from a new mine that it will based on the percentages of the gases and what kind of mining activities are happening. So that was it. So same thing will be happening here. So you will have a certain data. You do the supervised learning. That is a part of it. So you develop the network, and when you will get a new data set, that will be very much accurate in predicting which category you are lying in. Okay. So here we had only two categories, that it was either on fire, prone to fire, or not prone to fire. But in mental health care there can be different levels, as she will explain that there are different level of depression, right? From getting depressed like we are normally get, and depression when you think of suicide. So they are different categories.
Thank you so much, sir, for such a wonderful explanation. Any more queries from anyone?
ठीक है, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Sir, please. I would request Professor Tarini Mandal sir to kindly come on stage and present the memento to our director sir.
Internals have a camera.
Thank you, sir.
Now moving to next session, we have with us Dr. Nishant Goyal, Professor at Department of Psychiatry from Central Institute of Psychiatry, Ranchi.
The session would be starting from 12:15 p.m. So we can have an interaction session among ourselves. So.
चला जाए उसमें तो कुछ होना नहीं, ठीक है।
Now we have a break of 15 minutes. At 12:15 we will start the next session.
से गया है ड्राइवर 1 घंटा 1.5 घंटा से जाएगा। ऑनलाइन में है क्या?
क्या?
ज्वाइन किए हैं? कोई नहीं ज्वाइन
नहीं
किया।
नहीं
ये
ऑनलाइन
बस रिकॉर्डिंग करने के
रिकॉर्डिंग
लिए
करने के लिए कर
तो
रहा
ये
है।
लिंक तो शायद मना किए हैं।
हाँ क्योंकि इस मैम ऑफलाइन सेशन था ना, ऑनलाइन कर।
हाँ मतलब वो चल नहीं रहा है। सर्टिफिकेट ऐसे ही चला जाएगा।
इसको
उधर वाला माइक ये बंद कैसे हो गया?
बंद हो गया। ये आप लोग
अच्छा,
बोले
रोटेट
थोड़ा
है।
लूज था, ये लूज रहेगा ना, अभी नहीं, ये पूरा फुल टाइट होना चाहिए।
तब माइक कम करेगा। ऑफ। अच्छा नहीं था। और उधर वाला माइक कम कर रहा है
काम
क्या?
कर रहा है, सारा काम
उधर
कर रहा है, सब
उधर
काम कर रहा है,
वो
सब
भी?
सब टोटल आपका ठीक है। सिर्फ इसको देखते रहिएगा, जब इसका ये ये पावर अगर सिंगल हो जाएगा ना,
चार्ज कैसे करेंगे?
ये सारा कर दीजिएगा, वहाँ बैटरी चार्ज में लगा देगा। कितना लंबा है? क्या चीज़?
हाँ मैडम अभी कैसे पहुँच जाएंगे काइंड ऑफ ही इज अ न्यू ड्राइवर।
अटेंडेंस लिस्ट बनी है?
नहीं बनी है।
बोलते हैं
मोनिका
बोलने से किसी को।
मोनिका बना रहे हैं ना।
ये तो आ गया।
हम उसमें हमारे जो था ना,
हाँ,
डेली
उस-
मतलब दे रहे हैं।
जिसको मटेरियल जा रहा है प्रेजेंट है। नहीं सर बोल रहे मतलब आगे का अटेंडेंस के लिए
हाँ तो प्रॉपर शीट बनानी है सर
तो
ने
एक गूगल
पूछा।
लिंक बना देते हैं ना।
गूगल लिंक, हाँ गूगल
नहीं
लिंक में अच्छी नहीं तो
गूगल लिंक भी नहीं बनाया आपने।
बना बना बना
हाँ
मतलब
नहीं
फॉर्म बना
लेकिन
हुआ।
यहाँ पे गूगल लिंक कोई नहीं चलाएगा, यहाँ पे
हार्ड
आपको
कॉपी चाहिए
हाँ
प्रैक्टिस करने की सिग्नेचर
तो
करनी।
जो आप है ना जो हमारी 6 महीने वाली प्रोग्रेस रिपोर्ट सेमिनार होता है
हाँ,
उसकी
हाँ।
अटेंडेंस शीट का फॉर्मेट है तो बना लो जल्दी से, या तो क्योंकि सर बोल रहे हैं तो फिर हो जाएगा, उतना कोई इशू नहीं, हम सेकंड वाले सेशन
हाँ
में साइन
सेकंड
करवा
वाले
लेंगे।
सेशन।
आप मत करो उस पर फोकस, आप उस काम पे करो जो
आपको देखिए
करना है।
मोनिका, आपके पास है ना वो लिस्ट जितने पार्टिसिपेंट हैं, भेजे है ना फाइनल लिस्ट 50 का 50 फाइनल लिस्ट व्हाट्सएप में।
ऑफलाइन
उससे बस सबको नाम कॉपी करिए और वहाँ पे एक हेडिंग बना दीजिए जो भी है DHM 22 और आज का डेट डाल दीजिए अटेंडेंस और उसमें प्रेजेंट जो रहेगा अपना साइन
प्रिंट कहाँ निकालेंगे?
पति
सर
सर
के
का
केबिन में।
सर का
अच्छा
केबिन।
अच्छा।
आप बना लो फटाक से, सेकंड में जब तक उनका चलेगा फिर अपन साइन करा लेंगे। आप देख लो और फिर आप आ
नहीं
जाओ।
दिन में एक ही रखते हैं पेन को लेकर
सेशन वाइज होता है लेकिन आप बना के रखो 2-3 निकाल के कॉपीज, ठीक है सर जैसा बोलेंगे वैसे
कंप्यूटर
कर
ने इधर
लेंगे।
नीचे यहाँ पर बना।
सब काम एक ही बार आने लगता है।
उसको अभी प्रेजेंट नहीं कर रहा ना ऊपर।
नहीं अभी
ये कितने बजे है लैब, कितने बजे है? हाँ लैब
वहाँ पे
कितने
लैब
बजे? हाँ
2:30 बजे से
2:30 से कितने बजे तक? वहीं से
5
ख़त्म हो
बजे।
जाएगा, वहीं से ख़त्म हो जाएगा ना,
हाँ
फिर यहाँ नहीं आना है।
ना, कल के लिए भी बोले हैं ना सर यहाँ पे।
तो कल रहेगा ही, कल तो फिर 9 बजे से फिर वही रहेगा, वही टाइम है ना।
हाँ
बताइए ना।
सर शर्मा सर को भेज दिए सर,
क्या?
उनका लेटर जो था
हाँ
सर।
वो तो मिल गया उनको।
ये सर जो भी
अरे
पीपीटी प्रेजेंट किए हैं
हाँ
वो
हाँ
मिलेगा?
हाँ मिलेगा ना।
दीजिएगा ना
पति
please।
किसका?
ये अभी जो सर दिए।
डायरेक्टर सर का।
हाँ।
अच्छा अच्छा वो वाले बीआईटी मिश्रा के सरपंच कुमार सर का तो भेज दिए हैं ग्रुप में ना पीपीटी, जो बोले थे कि पर्सनल ईमेल में भेजेंगे।
अच्छा
सर वो दीजिएगा ना मिलेगा तो।
अच्छा ठीक है, हम रिकॉर्डिंग ही शेयर करेंगे सर।
कोई दिक्कत नहीं,
काहे
ठीक
कि
है।
कोई पीपीटी ऑनलाइन में कोई नहीं दिया, सिर्फ एंटोनियो जी दिए थे और केसी सर दिए थे।
एक थे चंडीगढ़ वाले सर,
वो नहीं दिए अभी तक।
ऐसे
वो
नहीं
बोले
दिए।
कि
आके यस कंप्लीट करेंगे वर्कशॉप,
हाँ।
पूरे एक प्रैक्टिकल्स
सर
होंगे।
हमको इनका चाहिए, प्रिया सर का।
शॉर्ट बाइट एक
ठीक है सर।
हाँ।
सर आपका कौन सा नंबर है ना, मेरा पता नहीं, एक तो नंबर हमेशा वो नॉट रिचेबल या कुछ ऐसा बोलता है। आपका 2 नंबर है क्या?
हाँ 2 नंबर है।
तो हमको ना आपका जिसमें व्हाट्सअप है ना उसमें अपना न्यू नंबर ना व्हाट्सअप कर दीजिएगा।
अच्छा ठीक।
हम जब भी बात कर।
हाँ
सुनो,
ये सर बोलिए।
लेटर में डेट क्या डाला है?
सर अभी फ्रेश भेजे है सर, अभी अभी जस्ट अभी भेजे है।
नहीं अभी एक मिनट, अभी हम
21-22 डाल दिए सर।
लिखा हुआ बोला तुरंत, अभी हम उसको
21-22 कर
करके तुरंत भेजा 21-22।
अभी जस्ट भेजे है।
जस्ट भेजा दिया 21-22, देखिए तुरंत हमको भेजे हो तुम,
नहीं
समझ रहे हो ना? तो 21-22 का डेट किस में भेजे हो? किस में किए हो, ईमेल की व्हाट्सएप में?
सर हम आपको व्हाट्सएप भी कर दे रहे हैं अभी,
तो उनको किसने भेजा?
उनका मेल आईडी पे।
आपका मेल आईडी पे भेजा? नहीं आप देख लीजिए, पहले देख लीजिए, देख के हमको बताइए। हाँ और कल आपको लाने के लिए जाएगा ओम प्रकाश, उसका नंबर भेज दिए। मिला नंबर कि नहीं? डेट देखिए 21-22। अच्छा एक मिनट और देखिए, उसमें देखिए अभी आपके व्हाट्सएप में भेजे हैं ये, जो लेने जाएगा आपको एयरपोर्ट, ओम प्रकाश नाम है, उसका मोबाइल नंबर भी दिया है। हाँ लिखा हुआ होगा ओम प्रकाश रूममेट, आया कि नहीं? अच्छा एक नंबर 2, आप जैसे एयरपोर्ट से निकलेंगे, रांची एयरपोर्ट से जैसे बाहर निकलेंगे, गाड़ी में लेगा आपको 3 मिनट या 4 मिनट के बाद होटल। हाँ बस 2 मिनट भी नहीं लगेगा सर, है ना? हाँ। अरे वो पैदल भी चले जाते, लेकिन छोड़िए ना, आपको 2-3 मिनट के अंदर, 2 मिनट चलना है। नहीं हम बता रहे हैं, नहीं 2 मिनट के बाद आप वहाँ एयरपोर्ट से आपको लेगा, 2 मिनट के बाद होटल में छोड़ेगा, होटल में आपको रूम में पहुँचा देगा। रूम का जो लुक है ना वो आपका रनवे की तरह है, मतलब कि एयरपोर्ट का जो पूरा नक्शा आपको उससे दिखाई पड़ेगा, कितनी प्लेन आ रही है, कितनी प्लेन जा रही है ना? वो हम खुद गए थे वहाँ, देख के आए हैं, है ना? तो वो आपको रनवे दिखाई पड़ेगा, पूरी दिखाई पड़ेगा रात भर, है ना? और अपना शीशा बंद रखिएगा आराम से। और उसके बाद वहाँ से दूसरे दिन जो लेने जाएगा, वहाँ से आपको मेरा
हाँ मोनिका।
इंस्टीट्यूट आने में कम से कम तो
हेलो
हमको लगता है कि 7 मिनट लगेगा।
हेलो
7 मिनट या 5 मिनट के अंदर आप पहुँच जाएंगे, है ना? हाँ नहीं वहाँ से सीधा बिरसा चौक से सीधा इंस्टीट्यूट बस। हाँ और सुबह एकदम खाली रहता है, वो 5 मिनट भी नहीं लगेगा, 3-4 मिनट में आप आ जाएंगे।
डिस्प्ले तो लगे का हो रहा
और फिर रात में आप
थोड़ा
एयरपोर्ट
कुछ
पे
काम कर
रुकेंगे,
लेते हो गया।
और उसके बाद सुबह आपको
तो जब काम कीजिए
अगर
ना
नहीं मन
बता
लगेगा
रहे
तो
निकाल दे।
नहीं निकालना नहीं, HDMI को निकालिए ना, है ना?
पावर ऑफ
स्टैंड बाई मोड में ले जाइए।
11-12
अच्छा।
बजे से चेकआउट है। आपकी फ्लाइट कितना बजे है?
बस हो गया, कोई काम नहीं हो गया।
स्टैंड बाई मोड में चला गया,
हाँ
अब अपना काम करते रहिए, स्क्रीन पे कुछ नहीं,
आप
फिर पावर
वहाँ नहीं निकलेंगे तो आप वहाँ से
दे दीजिए, अपना ले लेगा।
वहीं पर 12 बजे आपको चेकआउट करेगा। और एयरपोर्ट तो बगल में ही है, उनको बोल देना 1 घंटा लेट से हम करेंगे, है ना? क्योंकि 22 तारीख को डेट में सर हम आपसे नहीं मिल पाएंगे।
स्टैंड पे चल गया। अच्छा
नहीं,
स्टार्ट
22
हो
को
रहा है।
हम चीफ गेस्ट के रूप में मैथमेटिक्स
हम
वर्ल्ड
एक चीज़ और चेक करने दिए तो रुकिए,
बुलाया है आपको।
जब हो रहा है तो पूरा
करिए।
बढ़िया से चेक करिए।
इससे भी होता
स्टैंड
होगा।
रुकिए, स्टैंड बाई
21
मोड
को हम आपके साथ
ओके
मिलेंगे
किए,
3 बार। और
फिर
जरूरत पड़ा
इसी
तो
को
हम
ऑन करना
आपको
होता
अपना
है।
डिटेल डिस्क्रिप्शन कॉपी नहीं देंगे। ठीक है।
स्टैंड बाई से बाहर करने के लिए हमको पावर ऑन करना होगा।
हेलो हेलो, हाँ मैं निकल।
पावर ऑन करना ही है।
नहीं नहीं, सिर्फ नाम रखिए और एक बगल में सिग्नेचर। हाँ बस, और डेट लिख दीजिएगा। हाँ DMH कर दीजिए और आज का डेट दे दीजिए। हाँ ठीक। क्या सर? हेलो।
कहाँ पहुँचे? गोलचक्कर कौन? बिरसा चौक? जुलवा जुलवा गोलचक्कर? हाँ तो बस एक मिनट तुम आ जाओगे। उसके बाद कुछ कॉपी जो है ना ले जाना है तो तुम्हारे गाड़ी में डाल देगा, लेकिन जाओगे नहीं। हमको जब लेके जाओगे तुम 2 बजे उसी टाइम में कॉपी डालोगे, तुम वहाँ कॉपी उतारेंगे। हमको 2 बजे लेके जाओ, उसके बाद कहीं गाड़ी नहीं जाएगी, सीधा तुम आके यहाँ पर अपना आराम से बैठोगे नीचे। हम बोल देते हैं कहीं नहीं जाने का है, ठीक है बोल देते हैं। हाँ राहुल जी, गुड आफ्टरनून। एक मिनट, अभी तो कॉन्फ्रेंस हॉल में है, वो निश्चित को लेने गया है, निशांत गोयल को लेके आ रहा है। अभी दुर्गा गोलचक्कर पहुँचा है, जस्ट उनका 12:15 बजे से दूसरा सेशन चालू होगा, ठीक है। उसके बाद वो सेशन ख़त्म होता है जैसे 1:30 बजे, उसके बाद गाड़ी लेके निकल जाएंगे। और उसमें कॉपी डाल दिया, निश्चित मार दिया कुछ, है ना। बोला है कि हम चाह चुके हैं सर कॉपी, हम कॉपी लेके निकलेंगे। इस बीच में 1.5 घंटा में गाड़ी को ये नीचे रहेगा, कहीं नहीं जाएगी। हम जैसे ही निकलेंगे 1:30 बजे खत्म होगा, तुरंत यहाँ से निकल जाएंगे वो JUT, और कॉपी के साथ लेके जाएंगे। नहीं नहीं, 1.5 घंटा में आना जाना नहीं हो पाएगा, हो जाएगा। आप देख लीजिएगा, हमको एकदम 1:30 के बाद नीचे गाड़ी मिलनी चाहिए, हम बताते हैं राहुल जी। इसलिए कि अभी राजा को बात किए तो राजा जी बोले कि सर आप राहुल जी से बात कर लीजिए, हम बोला भी खबर कर देते हैं। तो 1.5 घंटा तो बहुत है, उनको जैसे आता है बोलिए कि तुरंत जाके कॉपी ले आए। बस ठीक है, एकदम कन्फर्म है ना। ठीक ठीक, बस 1:30 तक, क्योंकि कॉपी अभी लाद देगा उसमें, कुछ कॉपी तब अभी उसमें डाल देगा, वही लेते जाएगा, वहाँ छोड़ देगा, फिर दूसरा बार आएगा तो ले जाएगा कुछ। अच्छा ठीक है, अभी तुरंत उसको कब भेज दीजिए, लेट हो जाएगा, ठीक है। कॉपी हमारे साथ ही जाएगी, जब वो आए गाड़ी बोल देना, बोल दीजिएगा उसको कि जब हम जाने लगेंगे उसके पहले हम कॉपी डलवा देंगे। हम 1:30 एग्जैक्ट। सिद्धार्थ हाँ अभी तुमको फोन किया था राहुल राजा राहुल फोन किया था हाँ अभी हम उनको बोल दिए हैं 1:30 वो बोला कि अभी सर जाएगी आपको 1:30 में गाड़ी चाहिए ना आपको 1:30 में पहले पहुंच जाएगा आप थोड़ा सा कॉपी चंपिया सर बोले हैं कि वहाँ से ले आएगा और उसके बाद आपको लेके जाएगा 1:30 में तो साथ में कॉपी डलवा दीजिएगा जो होगा तो तुम 1:30 के पहले यहाँ पहुँच जाओगे हेलो ठीक एकदम वहाँ जाना तुरंत आगे 1:30 में ख़त्म होगा इस सेशन जिसको लेके आ रहे जैसे ख़त्म होगा हाँ 1:30 में चल देना यहाँ से एकदम लेट नहीं करना ठीक सिद्धार्थ भेजे
हाँ सर
नहीं यार
मेल कर दिए सर
और किस में भेजे ट्रिपल एक्स अच्छी
हाँ सर
देखो नहीं यहाँ हाँ बोलो
फर्नीचर उसी फाइल में करो उसी फाइल में करो
हाँ नहीं आवाज़
फर्नीचर में उनको भी सर कर देगा सर के साइड के लिए सर मेरे किसी भी सर के साइड में काट देंगे मेरा वाला चला गया जो वाला टेबल हो गया आ जाएगा
हाँ क्या बोला कुछ खबर दिया वो आया बात करते हैं फिर ये करना है स्टेशन आ गए आइए
इसको यहाँ कौन सा पे चला है ये कहाँ कैमरा कहाँ और किस में चला रहा है इसको अमृत किधर है ये तो
इस पे ट्राई इसमें होगा निशान NG NIBS ये इसके बगल में हाँ इसको ले लीजिए कॉपी कर लीजिए
सारा कॉपी और इनका जो सेशन का जो हेडिंग होगा, हाँ ठीक है रहने तो यही होगा, है ना। उनका वेलकम से अमित कहाँ चला गया? हाँ स्टार्ट पहले उनको पहले मोमेंट को पहले करवाना होगा,
मोमेंटो करवा
गलती से लिखते करना होगा,
तो मैम
वो
आप ही
लिख
करवा
रहा
दो,
है
तो आप ही करवा दो। नहीं आप करवा दो।
क्या तुम कर
कर लो।
हमें लगा कि वो जगह जल्दी से कुछ इंटरव्यू ठीक है, और हम पीछे से देख ले रहे कौन आ रहा
हाँ नहीं नहीं, सब लोग अपना कोटेशन तैयार करवा रहे हैं, कम से कम बनने को आए तो अपलोड करा देंगे। कोटेशन लेकर आ जाएंगे।
Now moving to the next session, we have with us Professor Dr. Nishant Goel, who is Professor at Department of Psychiatry from Central Institute of Psychiatry, Ranchi. Now, I request our Honorable Director Sir to present a memento to Dr. Nishant Goel.
इसके बाद में देना था, बाद में रुक जाओ, ये कंप्लीट हो जाएगा उसके बाद
लेट मी डू माय जॉब फर्स्ट। अच्छा लगेगा तो मोमेंटो दे तो मत दीजिए।
ठीक है, स्टार्ट करो।
Now a brief introduction to our speaker. He is a Professor Nishant Goel. In his career of nearly 3 decades, he has authored numerous papers based on topics like child, adolescent psychiatry, neuropsychiatry, epilepsy, community psychiatry, cognitive neurosciences, and other important mental health issues. Currently, he is heading the Department of Child and Adolescent Psychiatry, Brain Stimulation and Cognitive Neurosciences, and MRI Center at Central Institute of Psychiatry, Ranchi. Now I would like to invite Professor Nishant Goel to start his session.
We are these many people, na? So you guys don't mind if I speak without the mic, और आप recording कर रहे हैं?
रिकॉर्डिंग
हाँ?
रिकॉर्डिंग
हो रहा है, तो then I have to use the mic.
Yes.
And slide change करने के लिए?
Yes sir, हम
आप करोगे?
yes.
You can give me the laptop if it is possible. I can do it myself. If it is possible. So I can
Slide
if you have slide changer.
हाँ स्लाइड चेंजर कहाँ रहती है?
Anyways.
By the way you bring, I'm changing the slide, huh? So I would change by the time you bring.
जल्दी करना पड़ेगा.
हाँ ठीक है.
Anyways. So.
Slide check. ये कहाँ?
लगा ही लैपटॉप में जिसमें
You must be wondering, a doctor, particularly a psychiatrist, what he has to do or what he is doing, in a FDP session on mental health. Or so, as you can see, you have mentioned data analysis in mental health care. So I'll just give you a background of why I have come to you to share my knowledge or my the things what we are doing over here. Mental health is a part of health. You all understand, you all know about it. Now the problem with mental health basically is the health of human mind. Brain, mind, you can use interchangeably. So the problem is that we don't have any investigations when it comes to finding out. Suppose someone has a problem in the gallbladder, you do ultrasound, you find that there is a stone and you remove the gallbladder. So we don't have such technologies when we want to see the abnormalities associated with mental illness, various mental illness. So that is why big data or huge data becomes very very important when it comes to us understanding human behavior. नहीं हो रहा?
Yes sir, yes sir.
So while in the pursuit of understanding human behavior, we use a lot of investigations. In the sense that what is happening in our brain, how it is happening in our brain, and how it is going to affect or it is affecting the overall functioning of an individual in terms of the way you feel, in terms of the way you think, and in terms of the way you act. So data is gradually becoming very very important, and we do need someone who has expertise in handling the data, and that is where a collaboration between mental health professionals and collaboration between people from computer science department, or for that matter electrical engineering, chemical engineering, mechanical engineering becomes very very important, because we can generate data, but we need expertise from people like you who can actually meaningfully analyze the data, and we can have a better understanding of what we are doing and what we are thinking, what we are feeling. And so I'm sure sir was there that day when you had this MOU.
Yes sir.
So,
Yes sir.
that is basically how we entered into a memorandum of understanding between CIT Ranchi and IIIT, where we thought of having association in terms of creating or generating data and analyzing data when it comes to human behavior. So in that pursuit, I'll be talking about in the next half an hour or 45 minutes, I'll be talking about something called use of पानी मिलेगा पानी ये है
हाँ सर.
So I'll be talking about, and as you said, as you saw that I work in a subject called cognitive neurosciences. So cognitive neurosciences ko I'll just do a little bit of breakup. Cognitive neurosciences. Sciences we all know. You have computer sciences. So neurosciences means we are understanding, or we are the science which understands the neuronal activity or the activity of the brain. So this is neurosciences. Now when this neurosciences is actually used to understand our thinking, action and behavior, this is called cognitive neuroscience. So cognitive neuroscience is basically when we are actually finding out the attributes of what we think, what we do, and how we behave and how we believe. So there are various ways of doing it. Either you do imaging, you see what is happening in the brain, or you see how, because we all know that brain is a electrochemical organ. I'm sure इतना तो हम लोगों को सबको पता है कि brain जो है electrical chemical organ है. So we try to measure the electrical activity of the brain. The way we do ECG for heart, similarly we do something called EEG for brain, where we are actually trying to measure the electrical activity of the brain. One way of learning or understanding electrical activity or the physical activity of the brain is by providing something called neuromodulation, and that is what I'll be talking about, neuromodulation. So what we do over here, आप लोगों ने सबने पिक्चर में देखा होगा और सुना होगा ना कि झटका देते हैं और झटका देने से इलेक्ट्रिकल झटका देते हैं, झटका देने से आदमी ठीक हो जाता है. You must have seen in a lot of movies or heard about it from friends and other people. So in non-invasive neuromodulation, we provide very low density or low intensity magnetic pulses or electrical pulses to make changes the way brain is functioning. And it has been seen that by doing this, we can understand the functioning of the brain, and at the same time we can also bring about some changes in the brain which helps in treatment of various mental illnesses. For example, depression, mood disorders, psychotic disorders, anxiety disorders, so on and so forth. So this is a customary slide we present everywhere. I would like to thank Shalini and the entire administration of IIIT Ranchi. I just want to inform you that I work at CIT Ranchi. At the same time, we are also having a multi-center collaboration where an institute called Nimhans Bangalore, KMC Manipal and CIT Ranchi. We are funded by Welcome DBT. आप लोगों ने DBT या DST का नाम तो सुना होगा सब लोगों ने. फंडिंग लेते होंगे आप लोग भी नहीं लेते फंडिंग. रिसर्च फंडिंग नहीं लेते आप लोग. सर रिसर्च फंडिंग नहीं दिलवाते उन लोगों को सर. सर्व का ये सब चीज़ों का सर्व का तो होता है ना. So basically this is a Welcome DBT. Welcome Trust is a very famous trust from UK. So we have been funded, and this is called Clinical Research Center for Neuromodulation Psychiatry. So जैसे आप लोग सुनते हैं ना आजकल समथिंग कॉल्ड इंटरवेंशनल कार्डियोलॉजी, कि किसी के हार्ट में कोई प्रॉब्लम हुआ, स्टेंट लगाने के लिए आप डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं. तो वो सारे डॉक्टर्स दो दे आर कार्डियोलॉजिस्ट बट दे कॉल देमसेल्फ इंटरवेंशनल कार्डियोलॉजिस्ट. So we are also thinking of developing a new branch of psychiatry called interventional psychiatry. So this is the pursuit of doing that. So just give you a brief about my place. This is where I come from, and these are few things. It is not only about seeing patients. So I don't know. I think Shalini, though you have come there once, na? I think you have come to my department, but this is a lot of things what we do over there. I'll tell you how we do and how it happens in very nutshell, so that you can get some ideas about how you can, as an engineer, how you can also be part of it. Basic assumption क्या है? What is the basic assumption? The basic assumption is that our brain is an electrochemical organ. Now, electricity and chemical changes. आप लोग सब Facebook वगैरह WhatsApp में देखते होंगे ना, डोपामीन, सेरोटोनिन, नॉरएपिनेफ्रिन. आई एम श्योर वो जो टेस्ट ट्यूब वाला फोटो सबने देखा होगा, फेसबुक में आता रहता है वो आजकल. और कोविड के बाद से तो अब इतनी सारी यूनिवर्सिटीज़ खुल गई हैं, चाहे वो व्हाट्सएप पे हो चाहे फेसबुक पे हो, एंड पीपल एवरीवन नोज अबाउट एवरीथिंग. So the basic premise is that our brain is an electrochemical organ, and to make changes in the functioning of the brain, either we do it by changing the chemical part. Chemical part कैसे करते हैं? By giving medicines और pharmacology जो हम लोग use करते हैं, और by changing the electrical activity of the brain. We do this by methods like neuromodulation or other things. So today we will be talking only about neuromodulation, and that too non-invasive. Non-invasive से मतलब है कि जहाँ पे आपको ऑपरेशन करने की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगी, एनेस्थीसिया देने की ज़रूरत नहीं पड़ेगी. बंदा आएगा, एक चेयर पे बैठेगा, उसको एक कॉइल लगाएंगे, एक स्टिमुलेशन अंदर जाएगा, फिर घर चला जाएगा. नो, नथिंग इज रिक्वायर्ड. इट्स वेरी सिंपल. तो अभी व्हाट इज हैपनिंग दैट इट्स अ न्यू फील्ड. Not more than 30, 35 or maximum 40 years old, where we are developing newer methods of stimulating the brain. Now we are using, as I said, we are using magnetic currents or magnetic pulses. We are using electrical pulses. We are using random noise. So all these things are used to stimulate the brain. अब हम एक बार stimulate करेंगे तो brain का functioning change होता है. बार बार करेंगे तो थेरेपेटिक ट्रीटमेंट देने में वो हेल्प करता है. यू डोंट माइंड मी टॉकिंग इन बोथ इंग्लिश एंड हिंदी, राइट? और इफ यू वांट आई कैन स्पीक इन इंग्लिश आल्सो, सर. चलेगा ना?
Yes, yes.
हाँ, इट्स ओके.
Fine.
So I'll not go into the details of this. So neuromodulation is not, as I said, it is not about that you are just plugging something in the brain and pressing the button, the current goes in the brain and the brain changes. So this is not neuromodulation. So we have found that by applying magnetic pulses or magnetic current, we are basically making changes in the functioning of the brain. How do we do this? Yeah. So I was telling you about that brain is an electrochemical organ. So you can see how the information flows in the brain electrically and chemically. So I'm not going to details of this for your purpose, but we have various ions, or I'm sure calcium ions and sodium channels you all must be aware of. So by providing electrical changes, we are basically producing changes in the electrical activity of the brain. So as I said that the chemical side is taken care by medications and the electrical side is taken care by neuromodulation. You can see over here we use something like transcranial magnetic stimulation. I'll talk about it briefly. So now what happens? I'll give you the basics of it. What happens whenever we are providing or we are bringing any change by putting a magnetic pulse on the skull? आपको खोलना नहीं है कहीं पे भी. There is something called a coil. You can see over here. So this coil is just put on the skull and it produces magnetic pulse. This magnetic pulse enters into the brain. Now when it enters into the brain, there is a change of magnetic field which induces electrical field. अब यहाँ पे देखिए इंजीनियर लोगों का काम आता है, and that is why data becomes very very important when we are doing all these things. So the electrical field which is generated by the change in magnetic field over here gets translated in the brain tissues, and this produces something called a tissue current. Now this tissue current changes the charge density in a particular area of the brain. अब जब वो चार्ज चेंज होता है और जब वो बार बार होता है ओवर अ पीरियड ऑफ टाइम होता है, इट इज नोन टू प्रोड्यूस बिहेवियरल चेंजेस. आप पूछेंगे क्या बिहेवियरल चेंजेस? व्हेन आई डू दिस इन अ पर्सन हु इज सफरिंग फ्रॉम डिप्रेशन, व्हेन आई प्रोवाइड transcranial magnetic stimulation repeatedly over a period of 10 to 15 days, studies have found that it has got significant antidepressant effect. It reduces the symptoms of depression. There is definite elevation of mood, and a person reports that he or she is getting better coming out of depression. So this is a basic example of how magnetic stimulation can lead to behavioral change. As I said, there are many types of brain stimulation techniques depending upon the resolution. You guys know more about what is spatial resolution, what is temporal resolution. मुझे आप लोगों को बताना नहीं है, but depending upon the resolution, we have something like ultrasonic stimulation, repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation, transcranial direct current stimulation, so on and so forth. So I'll tell a little bit about all these things. So the physics of electromagnetic induction, which I was just talking about, is basically based on Faraday's law. अब Faraday's law आप ज़्यादा अच्छा जानते हैं मेरे से, so I'll not go into the details of what Faraday's law is all about. It's basically when you provide a pulse electrical current, it produces a fluctuating magnetic field which induces eddy currents in the conductor, and when it is put on the brain or it is put on the skull, it produces changes in the electrical activity of the brain. So, but ऐसा करने के लिए बस लगा दिया और हो गया ऐसा तो नहीं है ना. ऐसा करने के लिए we need to have electrical pulses of sufficient strength, sufficient duration, which is very short. अगर आप किसी को हाई ड्यूरेशन का इलेक्ट्रिकल करंट लगा देंगे तो खेल खत्म हो जाएगा ना. सो इट हैज़ टू बी ऑफ सफिशिएंट ड्यूरेशन, इट हैज़ टू बी ऑफ रैपिड, इट हैज़ टू बी रैपिडली चेंजिंग, एंड दीज इट हैज़ बीन फाउंड दैट दीज पेनिट्रेट द स्कल और द स्कल हमारा ये इसको स्कल बोलते हैं, इसके अंदर जो बोन होती है उसको स्कल बोलते हैं हम लोग. सो इट गोज इनटू द स्कल एंड रीचेज द ब्रेन. एक टिपिकल magnetic stimulation, you can see over here, a typical magnetic stimulator can penetrate up to 2.5 centimeters in the brain. A typical, so आप ये देख सकते हैं कि जब भी आप magnetic stimulation देंगे तो it goes up to 2.5 centimeter deep. So it has been found in studies. ऐसा नहीं कि मैं अपने से बोल रहा हूँ. It has been found in studies. So not going to details of this. Now since its development, the magnetic stimulators they have evolved like this. Faraday ने शुरू किया, डी आर्सनो ने शुरू किया. इस तरह के मैग्नेट्स के बीच में लोगों का सर डाल दिया जाता था. Then finally 1985 Dr. Philip Barker he made the first magnetic stimulator which actually was tried and tested on human beings. So this 1985-84 यहाँ लिखा हुआ है because publication 84 में आया था, but in 1985 it was first approved for its use in human subjects. So you can see Philip Barker is still there and he is doing a lot of research in magnetic stimulation these days. And this is the first stimulator which was made by him. So I'll just show you how it works. I'll try to keep it simple. अब हुआ क्या, आप बोलेंगे कि ये तो 2.5 सेंटीमीटर तक गया. अब होता क्या है, whenever I am basically providing magnetic stimulation on the skull, it causes depolarization of the nerve cells in a particular area of the brain. यहाँ DLPFC लिखा है. DLPFC का फुल फॉर्म होता है dorsolateral prefrontal cortex. हमारे ब्रेन के बहुत सारे एरियाज होते हैं. सो फॉर अस फ्रंटल लोब एंड उसमें भी प्री फ्रंटल कॉर्टेक्स हमारे लिए बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट होता है फॉर मेंटल हेल्थ. सो इट प्रोड्यूसेस डीपोलराइजेशन कॉजिंग न्यूरोट्रांसमीटर रिलीज. अब इसने तो 2.5 सेंटीमीटर तक कर दिया. उसके बाद बार बार जब हम ये करते हैं, वी डू इट रिपीटेडली, व्हाट हैपेंस, इट कॉजेस डीपोलराइजेशन ऑफ डीपर न्यूरॉन्स और द पिरामिडल न्यूरॉन्स, or it reaches to the deeper structure of the brain. Then as it reaches the deeper structure of the brain, it produces its secondary effects on the targeted brain regions. और ये देखा गया है using a technique called fMRI. आप लोगों ने MRI का नाम सुना है सब लोगों ने? You know what is MRI? Anyone who can tell me what is fMRI? Anyone? MRI में क्या करते हैं हम लोग, ब्रेन को देखते हैं ना, ब्रेन का स्ट्रक्चर कैसा है, ये सब क्या है. fMRI, the full form is functional MRI. Now functional MRI is a offshoot of MRI where we see the functioning of the brain. That while you are doing a task, while you are doing an activity, what are the changes which are happening in a particular part of the brain. तो जब हमने इस बंदे का dorsolateral prefrontal cortex को stimulate किया, so what we found that there was activation of the DLPFC which was measured by fMRI activation. This is called BOLD activation, BOLD, blood oxygenation level gradient. So BOLD activation से हमने देखा कि there is activation of the DLPFC which further led to activation of a deeper structure called anterior cingulate cortex. And then we found that these effects are associated with improvement in target symptoms. As I was telling you कि कैसे depression ठीक हो जाता है लोगों के अंदर. So I've already told you about this, how it functions. Now depending upon the type of coils, the depth is basically different. Is something called circular coil जो पहले हम लोग use करते थे. Now the most commonly used coil is a figure of 8 coil. I wish आप में से कुछ लोग आए और हम आपको demonstrate करें, दिखाएं कि how it functions, how you can actually generate data which can be used for various purposes from a computer science perspective as well. So now we have something called H coil. H का full form है, you can use it as helmet. The normal हम लोग helmet बात करते हैं, but it has come from a Israeli company. It's called Hesed, H-E-S-S-E-D, Hesed coil. Now Hesed coil is in a shape of a helmet. जब हम इसको ऐसे सर में पहनाते हैं, so it says that the stimulation reaches up to 7 centimeters in the skull. So when you have to stimulate deeper structure of the brain, we can use H coil. So there are different type of H coils you can use. I am not going to the details of this. So whenever I am producing any stimulation, or I am stimulating the skull, what is happening over here is it is basically creating a magnetic field causing electrical current. देखा गया कि as I said, that depth is important, location is important, duration is important, strength is important. So देखा गया कि whenever you are using a figure of 8 coil, the focalization or the focal part of stimulation was the best, and that is why figure of 8 coil is most commonly used in our routine day-to-day practices. I've already told you about the strength. This is how it actually reaches to the deeper structures of the brain. The same thing, how it is actually activating various parts of the brain whenever you are providing a magnetic stimulation. I'll not go into the details of this. So, how it affects the functioning of the brain whenever we are producing changes in the electrical activity of the brain, it causes something called change in synaptic plasticity. When our brain develops, so the way our brain matures, the procedure is called changes in the synaptic plasticity. When things get stimulated, it is called long-term potentiation. When the things get depressed, it is called long-term depression. So, in other words, magnetic stimulation causes long-term potentiation and long-term depression. It causes changes in the brain networks, and that is how, again, that generation of data, particularly the image data and the electrical data, becomes very, very important. Then a lot of hormonal changes happen, electrochemical changes are also happening after the neuromodulation thing which is happening. Different type of electrical pulses, magnetic pulses we are using. We use single pulse, paired pulse, repetitive TMS, deep TMS, pattern TMS. I will not go into the details of this. If anyone is interested, I can tell later on. Now, depending upon the frequency of stimulation, how frequently we are providing stimulation, it can be excitatory, it can be inhibitory. I give you one example. Suppose मुझे डिप्रेशन है, तो मुझे पाया गया कि डिप्रेशन में मेरा जो लेफ्ट डॉर्सोलैटरल प्रीफ्रंटल कॉर्टेक्स है, this is hypo functioning, which is the excitability is less. So I have to use a high frequency stimulation on my dorsolateral prefrontal cortex repeatedly to increase the cortical excitability. And that is what it is basically talking about over here. You can see high frequency stimulation which is going to increase the cortical excitability. So again, that depends upon the functioning of the various parts of the brain. Again, I will not go into the details of this because ये आप लोगों के लिए उतना important नहीं है. So as I said, different type of pulses are used. Single pulse, whenever we are doing some investigative studies. What I mean to say investigative studies, suppose I want to see that in a particular person or in a set of individual, how plastic or how the brain is how much active so that it can modulate or modify over a period of time. तो उसके लिए हम लोग सिंगल पल्स यूज करते हैं to stimulate a part of the brain to produce long-term potentiation or depression. We use repetitive TMS और RTMS. As I said, हमारे यहाँ लिंगो जो यूज होता है वो most commonly it is used as RTMS, repetitive transcranial magnetic stimulation. Same pulse which is given over a period of time, over a period of days, is called RTMS. Then another type of pulses which have been used for the last 4-5 years is called theta burst. जब theta burst कहाँ से आया? Theta burst आया कि we were seeing that whenever we are giving RTMS, it was taking a lot of time. Suppose if I have to give 1200 pulses to an individual in a day, it will take around 35 to 40 minutes. So it is not practically viable for many people. It is not cost effective. So people did a lot of studies and they found that if we can club the stimulations in such a way that we get burst of stimulation. So जो 1200 pulses देने में मुझे 35 minutes लग रहा था, the same 1200 pulses can be given in 3.5 minutes also, with proper efficacy and safety. And that is how the advent of pattern TMS came and the concept of theta burst stimulation. Theta burst is also used very commonly these days both for investigative as well as therapeutic purposes. So this is how a theta burst works. I told you about. So conventional PMS looks like this, and theta burst look like this. So you can see how different they are, but they are providing same number of pulses in a less number of time. So these are few permutation and combination which we use in clinical settings. As I said, we use for depression, psychosis, obsessive compulsive disorder, anxiety disorders. बच्चों में हम लोग यूज़ करते हैं, autism वगैरह के बच्चों में हम लोग यूज़ करते हैं, ADHD में हम लोग यूज़ करते हैं. So these are few clinical settings which we commonly use. I have given you an example of depression. Suppose मुझे किसी बंदे को हाई फ्रीक्वेंसी स्टिमुलेशन देना है, सिंगल पल्स मोड में देना है, एंड आई हैव टू गिव 3000 स्टिमुलेशंस पर सेशन. तो उसके लिए मुझे क्या करना होगा, मुझे 60 ट्रेन देना होगा, पल्स पर ट्रेन होगा 50. Whenever we are giving pulses over a period of time, we need to give it some time. It is called inter-train interval. आपने स्टिमुलेशन दिया, कुछ पल्सेस गई, फिर एक लैग पीरियड आया, एक गैप आया, फिर वो रिपीट हुआ. So this inter-train interval again is very very important in cases of RTMS. So the idea is that कितना फ्रीक्वेंसी में देना है, कितने पल्सेस देने हैं, और उस हिसाब से आप डिसाइड करेंगे कि आपका सेशन कितना देर चलेगा और कितने दिन के लिए आपको देना है. So these are various combination. Just to give you a brief, maybe to make you understand how it works in our setting. देखा गया है कि there are 3 hormones or 3 neurotransmitters. One is dopamine, one is serotonin, and one is norepinephrine. Dopamine को बोला जाता है happy hormone, serotonin को बोला जाता है sad hormone, और norepinephrine को बोला जाता है a hormone which helps us fight and flight. जब भी कोई स्ट्रेस आता है तो एक रिस्पॉन्स हमारी बॉडी का होता है ना, दिमाग का बॉडी को, इसको बोलते हैं flight and fight response. So norepinephrine is the main hormone which is basically for that. So I was talking to you about if a person has symptoms of depression in terms of decreased pleasure, decreased interest in day-to-day activities, being less energetic. So we found that to improve this, I have to target this area of the brain. This is called nucleus accumbens. At the same time, I can also target the prefrontal cortex. Suppose a person has difficulty in sleep and appetite, I have to target the hypothalamus. So, depending upon the symptom profile of an individual or a particular part of the brain or a particular part of function which we are looking at, we can target or we can localize various parts of the brain. So, these are the common areas which we stimulate. As I said, DLPFC is the commonest. We also stimulate something called supplementary motor area, frontal area, temporoparietal area, motor cortex. आप लोगों ने एक सुना होगा, एक बीमारी होती है, इसको पार्किंसंस डिजीज बोलते हैं. आपने सुना है, आप लोगों ने नाम किसी ने? व्हाट इज पार्किंसंस डिजीज? ओल्ड एज में ना कई लोगों को हो जाता है कि उनको ट्रेमर होने लगते हैं पूरे हाथ में, हाँ, बॉडी पूरा रिजिड हो जाता है, ट्रेमर होने लगते हैं. Usually starts in old age and it's a very very disabling illness. It's a neurological disorder. It's a very very disabling disorder. तो देखा गया है कि medicines for Parkinson's disease they affect to a level, but people found that when you started targeting the motor cortex using low frequency RTMS, it led to significant improvement in patients suffering from Parkinson's disease. So this is just one example I am just trying to give so that you can understand things in a better perspective. So this is how we localize these areas in our skull. So again, I will not do the details of this. So there are various experimental designs we use for TMS. The parameters is just a just a overview that we have to be clear हमें कहाँ stimulate करना है, क्या चीज़ के लिए हम stimulate कर रहे हैं, what are the tasks we are using. Suppose I want to create some data on how a depressed individual is functioning. So I have to create a task accordingly. The method, how I am identifying the target area, how I am going to localize the coil, how I am going to control the condition, and what are the best stimulation parameters in terms of intensity, frequency, type of stimulation and duration. So again, these are few coils. We are using this type of coil most commonly. This is called a figure of 8 coil or a butterfly coil. I already told you about deep PMS, how it is actually taking care of the new site. Now now I'll show you some pictures which are on site pictures. अभी तक मैं आपको theoretical दिखा रहा था. अब ये मेरी lab की कुछ pictures हैं where we are actually using, जो मैं अभी तक आपको theory बता रहा था, we are actually doing it. So this is a real time picture of helmet coil for deep PMS in our lab, where one patient suffering from depression is actually receiving a deep PMS stimulation. Then something called direct current stimulation. बैटरी आप सब लोगों ने यूज किया है. बैटरी का कंसेप्ट आपको ज़्यादा अच्छे पता होगा. बैटरी में क्या होता है? एक एनोड होता है और एक कैथोड होता है. तो करंट का फ्लो क्या होता है सर बताइए. करंट, हाउ डज करंट फ्लो इन अ बैटरी? फ्रॉम एनोड टू कैथोड जाता है, कैथोड टू एनोड जाता है. हाँ जी, कैथोड के अंदर जाता है और सॉरी एनोड के अंदर जाता है, कैथोड से बाहर निकलता है. इसमें कोई डाउट तो नहीं किसी को? आगे बढ़ूं मैं. नाउ द सेम थिंग इज व्हाट वी आर यूजिंग इन समथिंग कॉल्ड ट्रांसक्रेनियल इलेक्ट्रिकल स्टिमुलेशन, जहाँ पे हम सर एक 9 वोल्ट का बैटरी है उसको स्पेसिफिक तरीके से यूज करते हैं एंड वी टेक 2 इलेक्ट्रोड्स. अब जिस ब्रेन के एरिया में हमको इलेक्ट्रिकल करंट को अंदर पहुंचाना है उसको हम बना देते हैं एनोड, और जहाँ से आप अंदर तो नहीं छोड़ सकते, उसको बाहर भी निकालना है, तो जहाँ से बाहर निकालना है उसको हम बना देते हैं कैथोड. कैसे करते हैं अभी मैं आपको दिखाऊंगा. एंड द मेथड वी यूज इज कॉल्ड ट्रांसक्रेनियल इलेक्ट्रिकल स्टिमुलेशन. डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ ट्रांसक्रेनियल इलेक्ट्रिकल स्टिमुलेशन व्हिच वी यूज इज कॉल्ड TDCS, ट्रांसक्रेनियल डायरेक्ट करंट स्टिमुलेशन. बहुत सिंपल है. 2 इलेक्ट्रोड होते हैं, एक बैटरी से जोड़ देते हैं और उसके बाद फिर उसको स्काल्प में लगा के हम देखते हैं कि अगर हम उसको ओवर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम यूज कर रहे हैं, इट कॉजेस चेंजेस इन द एक्टिविटी ऑफ द ब्रेन. एज सिंपल एज दैट. मैं आपको ये चीज बोल रहा था, सो सिंपल. इसमें पल्स वगैरह कुछ नहीं होती है. करंट अंदर जाता है थोड़ी देर के लिए, उसके बाद फिर बाहर आ जाता है. तो लाल वाला क्या है, ब्लू वाला क्या है, पता ही होगा आपको, है ना. कौन सा एनोड होता है, कौन सा कैथोड होता है. आई एम नॉट गोइंग टू डिटेल्स ऑफ दिस ना. अगेन दिस इज अ रियल टाइम थिंग. सो व्हाट वी डू इज, जैसे सपोज मैंने आपको बोला कि मुझे डॉर्सोलैटरल प्रीफ्रंटल कॉर्टेक्स को स्टिमुलेट करना है, उसकी एक्टिविटी को बढ़ाना है. सो मुझे करंट उसके अंदर पहुंचाना होगा. सो करंट उसके अंदर पहुंचाने के लिए मैंने DLPFC के ऊपर लगा दिया एनोड. तो एनोड DLPFC के अंदर करंट जा रहा है एंड कोई एक एरिया, कोई भी एक नॉन रेलेवेंट एरिया वहां पे मैंने लगा दिया कैथोड, कि यहाँ से करंट अंदर गया और यहाँ से करंट बाहर आ गया. नाउ व्हेन दिस इज हैपनिंग, आई एम यूजिंग ओनली 2 milliampere current, very very low intensity current for a period of around 20 seconds, 20 minutes, with a proper ramp up and ramp down. Whenever you are changing the intensity of current, there is a process called ramping up and ramping down. I am sure you guys know about it. So ramp up ramp down करते हैं हम लोग, and then we say that we change the electrical activity and functional activity of the brain. सेम चीज जब हम 2 से ज़्यादा इलेक्ट्रोड लगाते हैं, जहाँ पे एक एनोड होता है जिसके चारों तरफ या उसके आसपास 4 कैथोड होते हैं, उसको बोलते हैं HD TDCS. जैसे आप लोग कैमरे के पिक्सल्स बढ़ाते हैं या ये सब करते हैं ना कि 8 मेगापिक्सल और 32 मेगापिक्सल, इसी तरह से व्हेन यू इंक्रीज द नंबर ऑफ इलेक्ट्रोड्स, इट improves the focality of the stimulation, and this is called high definition or HD TDCS. So this is the HD TDCS device which we are using in our center. इसमें क्या होता है कि एक 4x1 का रिंग अरेंजमेंट होता है, जिसमें मैंने बोला ना कि बीच वाला जो इलेक्ट्रोड होता है, जैसे हमने F3 में लगा रखा है, दिस इज एन एनोड, इसके 4 तरफ हम लोगों ने कैथोड लगाए हैं. एंड व्हेन वी डू दिस, the focality of stimulation is better and it goes more deeper into the skull. So the same thing I was telling you. तो इसके बारे में जस्ट थोड़ा सा आपको बताऊंगा यहाँ पे. हाँ, अब इलेक्ट्रोड तो मैंने लगा दिया सर के ऊपर. नाउ whenever I am placing an electrode on the skull, based upon the polarity कि ऐसे हमने बात की ना करंट कहाँ से कहाँ जा रहा है. If I am putting a node on the skull, the direction of the flow of current is inside. Now what it does, it increases the cortical excitability or cortical plasticity by hyperpolarizing the outer part and depolarizing the inner part of the neuron. इसका उल्टा कैथोड में क्या होता है कि जो न्यूरॉन का बीच अंदर वाला पार्ट होता है वो हाइपरपोलराइज होता है और ऊपर वाला पार्ट डीपोलराइज होता है. दैट इज हाउ द फ्लो ऑफ द करंट इज आउटवर्ड. सो डिपेंडिंग अपॉन मुझे एरिया को स्टिमुलेट करना है या डिप्रेस करना है या लेस एक्साइटेबल करना है, मुझे एनोड या कैथोड के को प्लेस करना होगा. So this is what I was meaning. मैं बस और 5 मिनट आपका और लूँगा यहाँ पे, और ज़्यादा टाइम नहीं लेने वाला हूँ. आप लोग बोर हो रहे होंगे ना थोड़ा सा? हाँ नहीं, इंटरेस्टिंग लग रहा है सर आपको? नहीं, बड़ा एक डॉक्टर के लिए इन सब चीज़ों को इंटरेस्टिंग बनाना सर बड़ा मुश्किल है सर. मुझे लग रहा है सब कुछ, तभी तो मुझे बुलाया गया है सर. नई चीज़ें जानेंगे तभी तो काम आगे बढ़ेगा. So I'll just take 5 more minutes. So this is our fMRI center. We use basically MRI, fMRI, आप जो मर्जी बोले. MRI में हम बंदे के को अंदर ले जाके उसके ब्रेन में क्या देखते हैं. अगर हम उस समय बंदे को कोई टास्क दे दें और उस टास्क के को परफॉर्म करते हुए MRI चल रहा है एंड द एरियाज ऑफ द ब्रेन विच आर गेटिंग लिट अप और चमक जा रहा है, दैट इज fMRI. That's it. As simple as that. So this is how our console room looks like. So as I said, we do a lot of structural MRI, functional MRI. Now we use something called magnetic resonance spectroscopies. We use deep diffusion tensor imaging, resting state MRI, tracking based MRI. हम लोग RTMS और EEG भी हम लोग साथ में करते हैं MRI के साथ. So we have all the facilities. Sir, the purpose of telling you this is that if people who are interested in working with human beings or the functioning of human brain and human behavior, you can actually target some part of the brain or target some function of the brain, and you can do a lot of studies along with us, creating data, analyzing data, so on and so forth. So this is how we are functioning. And over there DTI एक बहुत इंटरेस्टिंग टूल है. इट्स अ टाइप ऑफ MRI ओनली, जहाँ पे हमारे जो ब्रेन के नेटवर्क्स हैं या जो ब्रेन के ट्रैक्ट्स हैं उसको हम लोग उसकी सैंक्टिटी को मेजर करते हैं. दिस समथिंग कॉल्ड फ्रैक्शनल अनाइसोट्रॉपी. तो उसके थ्रू हम लोग इस तरह के जो ट्रैक्ट्स हैं, जैसे ये वाला एरिया था, इस एरिया में ट्रैक्ट्स जो है वो कैसे हैं तो वो देखने के लिए हम लोग DTI करते हैं. ब्रेन में एक पर्टिकुलर एरिया में मेटाबोलाइट्स कैसे हैं उसको देखने के लिए हम लोग करते हैं स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी और मैग्नेटिक रेजोनेंस स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपी. So this is how we are doing things. I'll not go into the details of all these things. I thought that I'll just show you. हम लोग बहुत सारे एनालिसिस करते हैं. अभी हमें पता नहीं कि हम सही कर रहे हैं गलत कर रहे हैं. अगर आप लोगों के साथ काम करेंगे तो डेफिनेटली वी विल बी एबल टू ऑपरेशनलाइज मेनी ऑफ अवर एनालिसिस, बिकॉज we don't know how to do image analysis, we don't know how to use network analysis, electrical analysis. थोड़ा बहुत पढ़ लिख के थोड़ा सा लोगों से पूछ पाछ के हम लोग करते हैं, क्योंकि वो हमारा फोटे नहीं है, वो आप लोगों का फोटे है. So working together can open a new window for all of us to work into all these things. So this is how we are doing. कुछ स्टडीज हमारी यहाँ हुई है, उनकी ये लिस्ट है, उसकी डिटेल. There are some publications from my lab. This is what we are doing. So lastly, there is something which is very new which we have just got just few months back. This is called precision neuromodulation. Precision, आप देखिए हर बंदे के ब्रेन अलग अलग होते हैं, सबके साइजेस अलग अलग होते हैं, सबका वॉल्यूम अलग अलग होता है. तो लोगों ने बोला कि आप एक पॉइंट आपने पकड़ लिया, अब DLPFC आप बोल रहे हैं, DLPFC आपने लोकेट भी कर लिया, बट इट विल बी डिफरेंट फॉर डिफरेंट इंडिविजुअल्स. So how to overcome this variation? So to overcome this variation, a new technology came up which is called precision science, precision medicine, precision न्यूरोमॉड्यूलेशन. इसमें हम लोग क्या करते हैं, इसमें हम लोग जिस बंदे का हमको न्यूरोमॉड्यूलेशन करना है, पहले हम उसका एक 3 डायमेंशनल एमआरआई करते हैं. उस 3 डायमेंशनल एमआरआई का जो डेटा है वो हम इस मशीन में लेके जाते हैं, इस वाली मशीन में. उसके बाद हम उसी इंडिविजुअल को इस सिस्टम के अंदर बिठाते हैं. दिस इज कॉल्ड फोटोग्रामेट्री सिस्टम. हम इसको एक्रोनिम में बोलते हैं जीपीएस. जीपीएस आपके मोबाइल वाला जीपीएस नहीं. दिस इज कॉल्ड जियोडेसिक फोटोग्रामेट्री सिस्टम. इसमें देयर आर मेनी कैमरास. उन कैमरास से एक पर्सन स्पेसिफिक हेड मॉडल बनता है. तो जो एमआरआई का जो हेड मॉडल है और जीपीएस के हेड मॉडल को फिर हम लोग कंबाइन कर देते हैं और उस कॉम्बिनेशन से एक इंडिविजुअलिस्टिक हेड मॉडल क्रिएट होता है बेस्ड ऑन द फेम टेक्नोलॉजी, फंक्शनल इलेक्ट्रिकल field mapping technology, that is supposed to be the most accurate head model for that particular individual, then which can be used for neuromodulation in that. So this is the most recent thing we have acquired in our lab. So मैं ही खत्म करना चाहूँगा that we need to formally recognize what we are doing. We are in the process of operationalize our training program, and definitely after doing MOU हम दोनों institutes का एक ये ज़रूरत है कि हम लोग साथ में काम करें. आई टेक दिस अपॉर्चुनिटी टू इनवाइट यू ऑल टू दिस ब्यूटीफुल इंस्टीट्यूट ऑफ माइंड फॉर सेंट्रल इंस्टीट्यूट साइकेट्री. यहाँ पे केवल पागलपन का इलाज नहीं होता है, बहुत सारी चीज़ें और भी होती हैं. एंड आई विश for many of you this might be an eye opener that the type of technology, the type of systems and the type of work we are doing. Shalini is one example. I think CIP रांची का जो पहला हमारी 104 साल पुराने इंस्टीट्यूट का पहला पेटेंट जो हम लोगों ने लिया था वो थैंक्स टू शालिनी की, इसके साथ मिलके हम लोगों ने पेटेंट लिया है और हम लोग अभी डिवाइस डेवलपमेंट पे काम भी कर रहे हैं. डिवाइस डेवलपमेंट इज़ अ वंडरफुल एरिया वेयर ऑल ऑफ यू कैन वेंचर, where we can collaborate with each other, we can provide you expertise, we can provide you subjects and technical expertise आप लोगों का होगा. So that sky is the limit when it comes to going about all these things. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity. I'll be happy to take questions if there are any. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for such an interesting session. We would like to hear more and more from you. And like it was really an enlightening one and getting new ideas we never came across actually. So anyone having any kind of queries? Any questions from the audience participants?
नहीं, हाँ सर पूछिए, ऐसे पूछिए सर, मैं सुन रहा हूँ.
वो डेटा सेट कैसे सर जनरेट करते हैं आप? आप लोग खुद जनरेट करते हैं या डेटा सेट को खुद जनरेट करते हैं या मतलब किसी जगह से केबल से या इससे लेते हैं? कैसे मतलब
वो काम तो सर आप लोग करते हैं ना, इंटरनेट के ओपन सोर्स से डेटा लेना. हमारा काम है डेटा जनरेट करना. That's what it is. We have see, it's a hospital ना, it's a hospital, so you get so many patients. So हमारे पास दोनों ऑप्शन है. We can have clinical data also. If you are targeting a particular disorder or a particular symptom profile or a particular disease, हम वहाँ से भी डेटा ले सकते हैं. हमारे हेल्दी सब्जेक्ट्स, अगर मान लीजिए आपको हेल्दी सब्जेक्ट पे काम करना है, I'll give you one example. अभी हम लोग काम कर भी रहे हैं, हम लोग BIT के साथ एक काम कर रहे हैं जहाँ पे हम लोग इमोशनल रिकॉग्निशन इन हेल्दी वॉलंटियर्स का डेटा कलेक्ट कर रहे हैं. तो कुछ लोग हमारे पास वहाँ के आते हैं, हम उनका फंक्शनल MRI करते हैं, कनेक्टिविटी एनालिसिस करते हैं. वी आर क्रिएटिंग इमेज डेटा बेसिकली. सो दिस इमेज डेटा इज क्रिएटेड. और जब डेटा, क्योंकि इससे पहले तक वो लोग क्या कर रहे थे कि उन्होंने ओपन सोर्स से 10 लोगों का डेटा उठाया, क्यों नहीं हम अपने यहाँ डेटा एक बढ़िया सा प्रोटोकॉल बनाए और हमारे यहाँ 100 आदमी का डेटा कलेक्ट करें हम लोग. आपको नहीं लगता कि वो ज़्यादा मीनिंगफुल होगा एज कम्पेयर टू जस्ट गेटिंग अ डेटा फ्रॉम ओपन सोर्स? उसकी क्रेडिबिलिटी तो आपको भी नहीं पता सर. पब्लिकेशन के लिए ठीक है, लेकिन कुछ नया करना है, कुछ अलग बनाना है, तो डेफिनेटली यू हैव टू जनरेट योर ओन डेटा सर.
थैंक यू सर.
Sir.
So two approaches are there. One was using magnetic induction and other was electrical. So we normally, it is a common practice in electronics. So whenever we try to avoid heating of some equipment, because in magnetic current the resistance is required. But in electrical resistance. So in this case when we are applying electrical, it is more direct, but heating effects are there. Similar to that, is it there or not?
It's a very interesting question. The most common side effect of using TDCS is some amount of burning sensation on the scalp. Lekin if you are using a proper system, if you are using a system which has been tried and tested, जनरली सर नहीं होता है. अगर होता भी है तो थोड़ा सा आप बात करेंगे बंदे से करेंगे तो वो ठीक हो जाता है. It is not
normally we try to understand that modulation is something, and based on that some other message we put. So here neuromodulation, does it mean that you are supplying magnetic or electrical current and neuro current is affecting that? Is something?
So that is what the entire premise is all about, sir. By providing magnetic stimulation, electrical stimulation, we are changing the electrical activity of the brain. So definitely it is carrying a different information. So which part of the brain you are studying, depending upon the location, you can see the भाई हाँ मेरा सोच जो है वो frontal cortex से आ रहा है, मेरा जो recognition है वो temporal cortex से आ रहा है. That depends upon that. Ultimately, that is the basic premise. By using various stimulatory techniques, we are disrupting the functioning of the brain.
It is reverse of what we do in modulation. So we send message on carrier. Instead, it is the carrier which is message which is being.
Sir, my question is related to the directly. Same question like that. Actually, electrical, chemical, or you have discussed about this one. So now there is a electrical methods or other is now medication or the medicine. That is another. Now my question is now what are the side effects of after now using the electrical inductions and magnetic inductions? Is there any side effect?
Yes, sir. Definitely, there are side effects, and in fact, whenever we are taking a person for magnetic stimulation, electrical stimulation, there are thorough checklists which we are actually using. Feasibility पहले हम देखते हैं सर, तो there is a feasibility checklist with us. कि किसी को मान लीजिए पेस मेकर लगा हुआ है या किसी को ब्रेन में कुछ क्लिप्स लगे हुए हैं, एनुलर क्लिप्स लगे हुए हैं, तो we do a proper feasibility. Then coming to magnetic stimulation, as I said, the most dreaded side effect of magnetic stimulation is a seizure. मिर्गी किसी को आ जाता है सर. लेकिन it is very very uncommon. टोटल इतने 30-35 साल में दुनिया में केवल 40 रिपोर्टेड केसेस हैं. मेरे लैब में केवल एक केस को सीजर हुआ है सर, बस इतने साल में. मैं 17 साल से यूज़ कर रहा हूँ सर. इट्स बीन 17 years दैट आई एम यूजिंग मैग्नेटिक स्टिमुलेशन. इसके अलावा जो कॉमन साइड इफेक्ट हैं जो लोगों में होते हैं वो होते हैं हेडेक. जनरली सेल्फ लिमिटिंग होता है. कभी कभी किसी को पैरासिटामोल या इस तरह की गोली देना पड़ता है. किसी को इचिंग होता है स्काल्प में. किसी को सर कभी रेयरली वॉमिटिंग का कोई लोग कंप्लेंट किया, नॉजिया कंप्लेंट करता है. अदरवाइज इट्स अ वेरी सेफ मेथड, वेरी सेफ मेथड. इवन इट इज सो सेफ दैट people have found it efficacy and safety in use in children and adolescents also, in pregnancy, in lactation also. किसी को जैसे प्रेगनेंसी में आप दवाइयाँ बहुत कॉमनली हम यूज़ नहीं करते प्रेगनेंसी में ना, बिकॉज ऑफ ऑब्वियस रीजंस. तो इट हैज़ बीन फाउंड टू बी सेफ इन प्रेग्नेंट लेडीज also. इलेक्ट्रिकल स्टिमुलेशन का सर मैंने बता ही दिया कि इचिंग होता है स्काल्प का या कभी थोड़ा बर्निंग सेंसेशन होता है. अदरवाइज उसका कोई और मेजर साइड इफेक्ट नहीं होता.
मेरा क्वेश्चन है कि आप जो यूज कर रहे हैं इलेक्ट्रिकल पार्ट, वो एंजाइटी और डिप्रेशन को भी रिड्यूस करता है क्या?
सर उसी के लिए तो यूज़ कर रहे हैं हम लोग.
एक नंबर 2, इसके पहले यूज करने के पहले जैसे आपने बताया कि दीज आर द साइड इफेक्ट, तो उसको क्या टेस्ट करते हैं पूरा पैसे को?
देखिए सर, साइड इफेक्ट तो किसी भी चीज़ को इस्तेमाल करने के बाद पता चलता है ना, किसको कौन सा होगा या नहीं होगा. मैं बोलता हूँ सर, मैं आपको मेथड बता रहा हूँ सर. होता क्या है कि व्हेन वी आर यूजिंग इट फॉर क्लिनिकल पर्पस, सपोज मुझे एक डिप्रेशन के पेशेंट के अंदर आरटीएमएस देना है, So as I said, I will use a RTMS feasibility checklist to see whether a person has contraindication or not. अगर वो checklist में है, then I will see what is the severity of depression, what is the extent of depression. उसके बाद मैं RTMS देना शुरू करता हूँ. हर सेशन के बाद I will apply the side effect checklist. There is a proper side effect checklist. इसमें सारे enumerated रहते हैं. जहाँ पे हम लोग या तो yes no में या लाइकर्ट स्केलिंग हमारी होती है 1 to 5, उसमें हम लोग उसको टेस्ट करते हैं. इस बीच में कभी भी कोई बंदा बोलता है कि नहीं हम नहीं सक रहे हैं, हमसे नहीं हो रहा है, तो वी हैव टू अबॉर्ट दैट सेशन देन एंड देयर. सो वी एंड देन जब सेशन पूरा हो गया 10 दिन 15 दिन 20 दिन जो भी आपको देना है, उसके बाद हम फिर सीवियरिटी चेक करते हैं कि इतने दिन में सीवियरिटी इतनी कम हुई या नहीं हुई. Not that it improves depression in every individual in which we give RTMS. वो दवाइयों के साथ भी होता है ना, सारी दवाइयाँ तो सब चीज़ों में काम नहीं करती हैं, ये भी ऐसे ही. मैम आप कुछ पूछ रहे थे?
सेम क्वेश्चन है कि एंजाइटी किस लेवल के बाद आपके पास लोग आते हैं, उसका लेवल होगा ना. एक नॉर्मल तो एंजाइटी बहुत लो में रहती है.
मैडम देखिए, कोई भी बीमारी, देखिए हम सब कभी कभी सैड महसूस करते हैं, एंग्शियस महसूस करते हैं, बट डजंट मीन दैट वी आर सफरिंग फ्रॉम डिप्रेशन एंड एंजाइटी. बहुत सिंपल फंडा है, जब भी हमारे सिम्टम्स दे स्टार्ट अफेक्टिंग आवर डे टू डे फंक्शनिंग, देयर इज इम्पेयरमेंट इन आवर सोशल, ऑक्यूपेशनल एंड अदर इम्पॉर्टेंट एरिया फंक्शनिंग फॉर एटलीस्ट 2 weeks to 4 weeks, we say that we need help.
ये सब प्रॉब्लम बढ़ती जाती है अगर नहीं प्रॉपर एक सब ट्रीटमेंट.
ऑब्वियसली अगर आप अपनी परेशानियों का ख्याल नहीं रखेंगे तो परेशानी तो बढ़ेंगी, कम अपने थोड़ी होती है.
कहाँ तक चली जाती है सर, लास्ट लिमिट क्या है?
पीपल कमिट सुसाइड ऑल्सो, घर छोड़ के भाग जाते हैं. अब उसका तो कोई एक्सटेंड नहीं है ना, क्या कहाँ तक जाएगा प्रॉब्लम.
सीवियर कंडीशन में क्या इसको हम ये कर सकते हैं, रेस्क्यू कर सकते हैं,
क्या कर सकते हैं सर?
सर्वाइव कर सकते हैं सीवियर कंडीशन में, जब डिप्रेशन सीवियर कंडीशन.
हाँ, हमारा तो सर काम ही, हमारा तो ब्रेड बटर ही ये है, हमारा डेली का काम है सर.
Sometimes we feel that अगर कोई person depressed है, if you talk according to his liking और उसको उस तरह का जो पसंद है, कुछ उस तरह का म्यूजिक उसको सुनाओ, तो they feel better. How it is related to electrical or magnetic pulses?
देखिए सर,
डिस्कस्ड कि ये इलेक्ट्रिकल और मैग्नेटिक पल्सेस से हम उसको क्योर करते हैं, ये सारा
नहीं, ये थोड़ा सा ऐसा कुछ नहीं है सर. आप एक हाइपोथेटिकल सिचुएशन बोल रहे हो कि इट्स मोर अबाउट मॉडिफाइंग द लाइफस्टाइल ऑफ अ पर्सन हु इज सफरिंग फ्रॉम डिप्रेशन. It has got nothing to do with the electrical changes or magnetic changes in, which we are producing. Whenever you are using, as I said ना, जब भी हम मैग्नेटिक स्टिमुलेशन या इलेक्ट्रिकल स्टिमुलेशन यूज़ करते हैं, 2 पर्पस के लिए यूज़ करते हैं. या तो थेरेपेटिक पर्पस के लिए कि इम्प्रूवमेंट आए सीवियरिटी में, या फिर हम लोग यूज़ करते हैं कि वी वांट टू स्टडी अ पर्टिकुलर प्रोसेस थ्रू मॉडिफाइंग a part of the brain which is found to be implicated in that particular disorder. जैसे डिप्रेशन है, डिप्रेशन में हमने देखा कि हमने जब EEG किया तो हमने पाया कि एक पर्टिकुलर सेट ऑफ चैनल्स जो है आगे में आपके लगे हुए हैं 3 चैनल, उन 3 चैनल्स में एक पर्टिकुलर पैटर्न है इलेक्ट्रिकल एक्टिविटी का. उस एक्टिविटी को जब हम एल्गोरिथम के थ्रू लेके जाते हैं तो वी कैन प्रिडिक्ट दैट दिस पर्सन इज हैविंग or might be having depressive mood or depressive state, and that is what our patent is all about. So अब वो एल्गोरिथम हमने बना तो लिया, अब हम डिवाइस डेवलपमेंट कर रहे हैं ताकि हम उस डिवाइस को उस एल्गोरिथम के साथ टेस्ट कर सकें. So this is how it is.
Sir, there are a lot of ways to predict the mental health. EEG signal is one of the way to predict the state of the mental condition. So, in precision neuromodeling, so is there any other way, like facial expressions, the voice? So, what will be the best way to predict the mental, or you can
Sir, देखिए, I am a student of human science, human behavior. So I don't yearn for the best way. I try to look at so many ways we can do this. I'll give you example. Eye tracking हम कर सकते हैं, EEG हम कर सकते हैं. We do something called event related potentials. मतलब रिक्वेस्ट करूँगा अगर अगली बार कभी आप मुझे बुलाना चाहें तो I can do a workshop on use of EEGs and event-related potentials, how you can study human behavior through that. Then something called even olfaction, जो आप सूंघते हैं, so how it changes over a period of time, it can be tested and it can be equated to the electrical activity of the brain. Image data के through आप कितना कुछ कर सकते हैं, अभी मैंने आपको दिखाया, आप वॉल्यूमेट्रिक कर सकते हैं, फंक्शनल कर सकते हैं, स्पेक्ट्रोस्कोपिक कर सकते हैं, आप डिफ्यूजन टेंसर इमेजिंग कर सकते हैं. There are so many things you can do through that. So even हम लोग एक समथिंग कॉल्ड ऑटोनॉमिक नर्वस सिस्टम एग्जामिनेशन, कि हार्ट रेट आपका कैसे चेंज हो रहा है, हार्ट रेट वेरिएबिलिटी हम लोग बोलते हैं, उसको हम ब्रेन एक्टिविटी के साथ इक्वेट कर सकते हैं. अब जब आप झूठ बोलते हैं तो आपने सुना होगा ना एक समथिंग कॉल्ड लाई डिटेक्टर टेस्ट. लाई डिटेक्टर टेस्ट में क्या होता है? इट्स वेरी सिंपल ना, कि जब आप झूठ बोलते हैं तो आपका स्किन अचानक टेम्परेचर बढ़ जाता है, इसको कहते हैं गैल्वेनिक स्किन रिस्पॉन्स. तो गैल्वेनिक स्किन रिस्पॉन्स आप मेजर करते हैं. इलेक्ट्रिकल एक्टिविटी ऑफ ब्रेन जो है वो बदल जाती है, उसको मेजर करते हैं. सो देयर आर सो मेनी वेज ऑफ actually directly or indirectly studying what is happening in your brain in a particular context, in a particular situation, or in a particular disorder for that matter.
किसी को जैसे टेंशन होता तो गला वाला थ्रोट सब सूखने लगता है, तो ये सब डिसऑर्डर में आ गया आपके अंदर ट्रीटमेंट कवर.
मैंने क्या बोला आपको, अगर ऐसा आपको बार बार हो रहा है, 1 महीने तक हो रहा है, जिसके चलते आप काम नहीं कर पा रहे हो, आपके हाँ अगर कभी कभी तो अब मेरा अभी मैं आपके सामने भाषण दे रहा हूँ तो मेरे भी तो गला सूख रहा है. देखिए पूरा बोतल पानी पी लिया, तो अभी जाके आरटीआई में थोड़ी दूंगा इसके लिए.
तालू भी सूख जाता है.
सर इट इज एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ एंजाइटी ना, इट्स एन एक्सप्रेशन ऑफ एंजाइटी.
कंपन होना है, ये सब क्या उसी का कारण है?
इसी का कारण है सर. एंजाइटी दिस इज एंजाइटी. एंजाइटी कैन बी प्रोडक्टिव आल्सो ना सर.
उसका कैसे हम लोग फाइट करेंगे?
अब मैडम आप मेरे से सारा आज ही सीख लीजिए ना, ये गलत बात है. नहीं. देखिए सब आज ही पूछ लेंगे मेरे से. योगा करिए, ये सब करिए, जैसे लोग भाषण देते मैं भी देना शुरू कर दूंगा. हाँ.
Okay, so thank you for your questions, and now I would request Honorable Director Sir to please present the memento. नहीं ऊपर.
Thank you, sir. Now I request you all to proceed for lunch, and after lunch we will have our next session from 2:30 p.m. The session will be held in computer lab above the mess area, and the session will be taken by Dr. Prasanjit Dey. So kindly be there at 2:30 p.m. Thank you all.
इंस्टीट्यूट से जुड़ने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं, अब रेगुलर आ रहे हैं, काम जल्दी आगे बढ़ रहा है. कायर में इनकी हेल्प ले रहे हैं, इनके साथ कोशिश कर रहे हैं.
उसका भी सुजीत का भी काम चल रहा है.
मेरे भी चल नहीं रहा है, लुक पकड़े हुए, थोड़ा सा कुछ करेंगे लोग आगे तो होगा.
अच्छा.
तब जल्दी गाड़ी आगे बढ़ेगी. सुजीत तो आते नहीं है ना, तो पुणे में रहते हैं, ऑनलाइन में रहते हैं.
Dr. Sasigan sir. Sasigan sir, please come. All participants, please come on stage.
Everyone is requested to come to the stage. Kindly come over the stage, over the stage.
सीधा इसको रखते हैं अभी। ठीक, बंद नहीं होगा ये इसका हाँ? बंद हो जाएगा।
आप वहाँ पे चलो, वहाँ
देखो उसमें शिवरिंग होता है, फिर एक एक्सप्रेशन कम हो जाता है, मतलब वो चल जाता है, फेमस पार्किंसंस की दवा बनती है, उससे स्लीप डिस्टर्ब होता है। जैसे कोई सर की है मेरे काम कर रहा है, वो चाय यहाँ रखी है, बोले कहाँ रखी है, नहीं वो है, वो डिपेंड एज पे डिपेंड करता है, जैसे इसके पार्किंसन शुरू हुआ है, अभी कितना है, हो सकता है डिमेंशिया भी होता है, तो ये सब साइड इफेक्ट है पार्किंसन दवाई का या पार्किंसंस की बीमारी है, वही सब के असर है, इससे रिलेटेड मतलब पार्किंग नाम का कोई दवाई है, चलो करते हैं, जैसे हमें सीगाने यहाँ से वहाँ से हम लोग दवाई चलाते हैं, थैंक यू सर।
कोई बात नहीं, एक्चुअली कुछ कुछ सिम्टम जो आपसे पूछ रहे थे वो हमारे नंबर में है, ये मेरा बोला है और भी बहुत सा डिस्कशन है,